Niggas don't stand a chance without being in the Lord's hands. Life full of lessons, look like I learned them all. Life full of blessings, but the crackers got it all. How long until they fall? How long until you call on the Lord with a sword? I'm just fighting with the few against many. Working for the Lord, I just hope I get a penny. Know the devil sent you, just look at who against you. And when the Lord with you, who can be against you? Know that I ain't Christian, just look at who I'm dissing. I'ma need for you to listen, know it's hard for you to listen when it's part of your tradition. And your mama in the room, bumping music full of Christian and your daddy not around. Cause your mama's superstitious, I know she's super wicked. Plus she's smoking like the kitchen and it's all because of Nixon. Praying to the Lord like, please can you fix it? Childhood missing, cousin in the kitchen, flour on the plate. Thinking to myself, why is flour on the plate? Next thing I know, that flour turned to day. I was only 8, I was only 8. There was nothing I could say, but daddy, can you say? Cause here it ain't safe. Look at all these black eyes, looking like a G5, but me, I'm looking like I came out of free stove, but me, I'm looking like I came out of free stove, but me, it's nothing left to do, but to do what they do. I wanna sell crack just to be like you, serving to the fiends on the new avenue. Put it in the pot, motherfucker, let it stew. Look at me now, I done turned into you, following the way, but I knew it wasn't cool. Should've did more than the average nigga do. I am not the same, but I was raised like you. Mama on crack, yeah, my daddy was too. Look at what the government did to you. That's why I don't vote. They put us on dope. Now I'm in the street, I was selling fake dope. Christian church too, they just selling fake hope. Just remember this, what you reap is what you sow.
Playing on this track right here now. It's a full grown man right here.
No cowards, no excuse, you understand?
If you understand.
It's an event every time we come through. Commanding General Your Honor and this heavy hitting crew. Real niggas with an attitude. How about you? I repeat, real niggas with an attitude. How about you? The Chronicles of the King, 69 to the present. Hardcore Nazarenes, we ain't never been the peasant. Like the ghetto was a present, holding everything pleasant in the Most High's present. It's silver and gold is precious. They thought it was effervescent. Get in class, learn your lesson. Out the belly of the beast will increase. At least observe the beast of Yahweh. Eat some lamb, make connections. He's a little sanctuary, no question. We ain't ever been crabs in the barrel. This is life under Pharaoh. From a lifestyle apparel to walk in the straight narrow. More white than your average barrel for the price of a sparrow. Using practical knowledge, not just the narrow. This is ice in the mirror. They cutting us like the grass. Keep plugging us out the past. It punish us out the ass. I tell my people that love them about the criminal justice, about the past. Then we stuff in the ego. These vultures are evil. Just look at what they done to our people. Covered up the face of the judges with paint off the easel. I be meditating terrorists and deliver my keynote. UPK, we got diesel. No cowards forever. We go while you use us. We bringing back the Lord's nation. shit. With much long suffering, the camp is in concentration. In spite of the correlations, they faggots in formation. They be taking and heeding. We got the stage and invasion. We got the streets in a rage. Once the priest hit the pavement, vengeance from the Lord is the white man payment. The prophets of Yahweh ain't nothing to fucking play with. Some of you gone lukewarm, my niggas stay lit. Y'all complacent, we stay spitting yoga fire in your faces. Freeing the flock of the slaughter from out of this matrix. The definition of racist is believing you're on top. And as a matter of fact, we got that position every night. You shouldn't come as a shock. Yasha Allah won't stop when we come back to our power. Who wanna run with the bomber cloud? We keep the summer hot, winter on icicle. You get that spiritual power, ain't gotta buy a pistol. Ripping bodies caught by the crystal. No harm, you're struck by a missile. You serve Yahweh, you're invincible. Gotta be one of the 12 tribes of Israel, a nation of the God indivisible. Our power is critical, from analog to digital. We coming back. UPK ain't running, but we running that pay your tithes where that money at. Put on the dummy hat, thinking it's cool. We're not hosting an intergalactic kegger. We're torn, he raised up one of his people for rulership. UPK gon' be ruling shit. Yahweh Shah is ruling with an iron rod. The only dialogue is crime out of one kind. You don't like it, you could die a fugitive and vagabond. Me, I'ma have cattle and a catalog of slaves. Tell the nations get in shape, otherwise we do nuking them. They gonna build Jerusalem. Christians would call it safe. You can call it what you want, but them roads better be gold paid straight out of these OKs. 1,000 years of sin, picking cotton, no shit, finger pricking, blood dripping from all the thorns. I'll be keeping the bench warm. You've been warned before they disappear. You've been warned.
Hey, Shalom Israel, Shalom Lord in Christ. We're going to kick this thing off now. We're going to get started. Let's do it. So, you're going to clap it up. You're going to clap it up. You're going to say Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai Barakatah to all the brothers. Yahweh Shema, Alatam Bahashim, Yahweh Shai to all the sisters. I am Priest and Officer Kashka, ISUPK Bahamas. And we're going to just kick into our evening class tonight. Okay, we're going to just get into some of what I normally do, some local current events, some international current events, some encouraging words as we get started. But welcome here. And if you have any questions, please put it in the comment. And if you would like to actually get on screen, if you're here, you could actually put it in the comment. I could send you a link that you could come up right here and ask your question. Okay? But stick with me because today is going to be an interesting one. Our topic is going to be Christ-like living versus Christianity. Are they the same? Right? So that's what we're going to get to in a short while. But prior to that, we're going to do a little bit of current events. Okay? So before we actually get to the current events, I want to encourage you, whatever nationality you may think you are, these days are getting very trying. And I always encourage people to grow some crops. Get out there in the yard, get in the garden, do something. Get some crops growing. If you got a yard, start a small garden. Do not overwhelm yourself. Start a small garden, get some crops growing. If you don't have a yard, get a couple of pots. Plant a couple of trees, a tomato plant, a sweet pepper plant. Those things reproduce more than one thing. Okay, and they're quite manageable on the back porch, on a balcony. They're quite manageable. So you got options and things to do. Now, also, with that being said, this is I'm a professional safety supervisor, safety professional, and I want to encourage you to always hydrate. You're getting into the hot months now. I mean, we're not into the summers yet, but we definitely are getting into some hot temperatures. So especially in this zone, I think we're down to zone 10, 11. So I need to double check our zone. But in the Bahamas here, we're quite low on the zone. And so if you're going to be working out in the sun, please hydrate yourself. Drink water, drink electrolytes, and Gatorade if you can't, because some people, because of hypertension, be careful now, because the hypertension Gatorade have a lot of salt in it, so the doctor may advise you to drink something different. But again, electrolytes, and be aware, if you're out in the sun, take frequent breaks. Okay, you should feel your body starting to need a cool down, a rest. So listen to your body. Don't keep running at full speed. All right. Okay. Now, as a farmer, yeah, I just told you I'm a safety professional, right? Well, I'm a real Benjamite. Okay, so I have a couple of things going on at the same time as I'm juggling. Okay, so and that being said, I also am a farmer. I have a farm, I operate a farm, and guess what is coming to our neck of the woods? Hurricane season. The dreaded hurricane season. That's going to start in a couple of weeks for us, and of course, pray to the Most High don't allow any hurricanes to come. At least not the devastating ones. You can take the hurricane, to category 1, 2. Those are things that we live through all the time. But the higher numbers of categories, I had too much intimate relationship with them in the past. I've had enough. And I don't need any more, okay? I don't need any more serious hurricanes passing our way. I know too many of them intimately. Okay, so move on a little bit more, talking about some local events in the Bahamas and in my neck of the woods. Okay, now, and again, I use these things to show you how we are so similar. The Israelites, wherever we are, we have a lot of the same things going on. And so I use this as a tool to, inform the wider Israelite community. They see the Bahamas as a vacation spot and everything is honky-dory. No, we're Israelites. And so whatever you're suffering in the ghetto, somewhere else, we're suffering here in our ghetto. And not even in the ghettos, but all over the islands. We're suffering the same things. Okay, so check this out. Police are investigating attempted suicide. I mean, a lady's attempting, now, this is alleged that the mother of a young lady, the young girl got impregnated, right? I don't even know how to follow this. The only way I could follow this is saying two things. The young girl get pregnant and the mother is 40 years old and the mother is attempting suicide. How do you put them two things together, right? You know why? Because we're yet in our captivity. And the next thing is the white man is the devil the Bible speaks of. And guess what? Most Bahamians wouldn't even understand or identify with that term because they don't see any Caucasians. Very, very rarely, and especially in any authoritative capacity, they don't see any of them. But guess what? You ever see that the puppet masters got all the strings and everybody down to the bottom? That's what's going on here. You don't see them, but they got all them strings waking around in the community and everywhere else. You don't see them, but they're always there. So the white man is definitely the devil the Bible speaks of. Okay, now, okay, so definitely we got some, we got the highlights. But our silly season just climaxed yesterday, and now the run is on. That's to make sure that everything is going smoothly. But before that, there was an alleged aviation accident between the islands where I am located and the nearest island to me. We still haven't gotten a lot of information on that as yet. So if that develops, I guess for the next live, I may say something about it. All right. But now, so it's over. We go through the silly season and now the foolishness starts. It's a lot here. So it was the two major parties, which is the FNM and the PLP, the Free National Movement and the Progressive Liberal Party. And then we had a third party was trying to enter the politics. Now, the coalition, now, even though they would have did a good showing, because I think they put candidates in just in every area, if I'm correct about that. Okay. But they did a good showing, but they got clobbered. And it normally happens like that. The first time you get a good showing, the third party. So the race was between I trying to say how the best to say this because even my little life gets cut because of what I say. If you have two bad choices, how do you say that? I wouldn't even say the lesser of two evils. You just have two bad choices, and you end up with one of them. And mind you, in UPK, we think all choices are bad when it comes to politics. But the strange thing with this is, you've already been under both of those systems, those parties, and think about it. You have not gotten the kind of regulations to cause the Bahamas to be a wealthy, self-sufficient, positive crime control. You've not gotten those kind of regulations, those kind of, and the things which should be happening at the highest level in government. The policies should be put in place, and these things should be considered. They should be looking at other countries to find out the best way of doing things. With our small number of people, crime shouldn't be out of control. Poverty shouldn't be out of control, but both of them are. Okay, so, but anyway, the Progressive Liberal Party got 33 seats, and the F&M got 8 seats, and the COI, Coalition of Independence, got 0 seats. Okay, so now we'll see what's happening. We'll see how things go. In UPK, we say, we want the Lord, we want the Most High to send Yahweh Shai back, changing everything, setting up a new government, and with that, everything will be set right. But until that, these people are going to be continuing to do whatever they want, and the poor will continue to be poor, and the thieves or whoever they are will continue to thrive where they are, because there's really no checks and balances with men. Men just continue to hoard, to grasp, and might is right, and all of this stuff is not fair. But again, we get what we ask for. So I was officially denounce everybody who voting in these elections, and continue to stick with my nationality, an Israelite living in the Bahamas. That's who I am, because definitely I'm trying to get ready for when things change, and I suggest you do too. Okay, we'll move on to some international events. Okay. What is the biggest world issue that's happening right now? You may or may not think about it. And when I first heard it, I wasn't really keying on it, but after I heard it, and I said, yep, that got to be. And guess what? It's not about the wars. It's not about the shortage. It's not about the fuel shortage or the high price and things. No, that's not what it is. What is it? Climate change. That's major, because it actually starts to knock down the domino. And the domino effect is it really affects a lot of things. The climate change, I think we know where it starts from. And it starts from it starts from man's irresponsibility in taking care of the environment. I think it all starts with greed, because what happens is, I'm not sure that it starts with ignorance, because a lot of the things, let's just say the ozone layer, at some point it was ignorance, because we did a lot of things that actually affected the ozone layer, and they say punch a hole in it, right? And so it's just like the best way I could describe it. If you think about a balloon that is inflated, and so we in this big balloon, and all the air inside is nice and controlled because it's all contained. Now, when you put a hole in it, so now what's happening is the air in this balloon is escaping. So now the internals of the balloon now become compromised for whatever reason. And that's what's happening with the ozone layer. That's why things are changing. That's why the temperatures are rising, and all sorts of phenomena are happening over the world, over the earth. So that's what's climate change. The climate change, Salakia. The climate change is responsible for shifting weather patterns, right? And this weather pattern is going to shift. That means you're going to have dry season, wet season shifting. So where you used to have wet, it could be dry. Where it used to be dry, it could be wet, right? And then you have increase. You know, the Bahamas is at sea level in a lot of our islands. The sea level is supposed to rise, so we're supposed to be losing land mass. Of course, the food will be threatened just for the mere fact that seasons will be changed. The food will be impacted. Flooding. There's going to be more deluge, more heavy rain, and so you'll be more flooding. The rains are going to shift. So where you used to have heavy rains in an area, now you have heavy rains in a different area. These places might have been prone to flooding, but didn't have that amount of water. When they now have that water, you'll now see flooding. So these are the things that causes the climate change to be such a major issue. All right, because people will be displaced by I guess you could say it's natural disaster now, but you know it's a man-made phenomenon that caused us to be where we are. And do you remember during the COVID, they said that the ozone started to repair itself? Yeah. They said that when everybody had to stay indoors and all that movement was slowed down, they actually saw the air in different countries get better. And I think they said the ozone started to repair itself. And a lot of things start to shift back. But what happened after that? Man does not want that to shift back. We as a unit want prosperity. We want money. That's it. We want power. So if the whole world is destroyed, well, they got some money. I don't know where they can spend it. Anyway, so that's it. Climate change. Now, next thing. Cuba, which is the Cubans, which are part of the 12 tribes, they're really suffering. All right. And they were poised to suffer because there was an embargo. They defied the great United States of America. They defied them and have been defying them for a very long time. But now you got a new sheriff in town over there, Agent Orange. Agent Orange have different tactics than all the presidents before him. So now, Cuba is under an assault. In so much that, if I'm correct, but you have to pay approximately $40 for a gallon of gasoline. And if I'm correct, that's US dollars. That's ridiculous. But again, that's because things happen. That's because this capitalist world, people, they want to be able to capitalize on you. They want to be able to get rich while you get poor. And so that's what's allowed to run. And that's running amok. All right. So now, the action is still going on in between the but they call it the U.S. and Israel war. This is them who picked the fight. So it's them. Okay, that's still going on. The Strait of Moses, and so it's still fighting over that because they realize it's realized that number one, that strait is so important to the world economy that the fact that that's closed is affecting. That's why if fuel price is going up, just for that. And who have it closed? The insurance companies. Yeah. Hey, the fighting is going on. But the insurance companies say, listen, I ain't insuring that no going to there if I can lose my money. So I'm not insuring it. So it's closed. All right. So if they stop the fight, the strait will be open and things will start to flow. Now to date they don't spend so much money. They could shoot. Hey, I wish I had a little bit of that. $29 billion so far. That's unbelievable. And of course, all of the weapon manufacturers and all that, they smiling because they're the ones who have to replace these weapons when they shoot. Not $1 million a shot. Some of them. Wow. Listen. So that's the way it is. War is expensive. All right. So check this out now. The next international event, the next current event is not China and America enemies. They are, But guess what? Agent Orange going to Beijing. He going to Beijing. The thing is, if people are enemies, they don't even come where you are. But again, this all about the big dollar. All right? It's all about the dollar. So he's going to be going to Beijing to discuss the war. Right? Going to discuss the war with China. Anyway, because again, what is alleged that both the Chinese and the Russians are doing a proxy war like how Agent Orange those normally do. They do like a proxy war. That means the people who fight in the front, they fighting, and you have some people in the back giving them ammunition, and like in here we say we're giving them rocks and bottles to throw. You stand up in front, and somebody that's supplying the rocks in the bottle for you to throw. And so what's happening over there? China, some other countries are providing rocks and bottles to throw. And the countries that are standing up and fight in the front, they fighting one another. And they got these companies, these countries in the back supplying these things as they stand up front. That's all it is. Okay? I got to speak in a little code because, like I said, my live is get cut, and I'm not sure why. So I got to be careful with some of the words I use going forward. Okay, so that's the amount of the war. That's the China thing. Now, I don't think a ceasefire is going on in Israel because, again, they're continuing to send strikes in Lebanon, killing people. It's continuing, right? 12 got killed recently. That's continuing. Every day they continue to do this fight, all right? And the next, what else war going on? You know what else war going on? Russia. They're still fighting. Okay, they're still fighting. So drone attack on the Ukraine, even after they're supposed to be in a ceasefire. Sure, just today people are still dying. 6 people killed. What's going on? These things, and again, as I get to the last one of these current events, right? So the thing is, there's rumors of the world war, but if you could look around, the amount of wars that's going on, you have to say somehow it's a world war, but it's not been called yet. We're waiting for Commandant General Yohana to make that call. And like he say, if you see a nuke, if you see that cloud would resembles a mushroom, when somebody do that, I think that's it. I think if we see that cloud, remember now, this is how it works, right? If that shot off from anywhere, the other countries would know. And so prior to it landing, the other countries normally retaliate. So if we see that happens, it's gonna be a serious thing for them not to retaliate. And what happens? Just think about this. One guy shoots one off, and I think some of them could take a half hour to reach where they're going. So in that half hour, the next person will say, listen, we have to respond within this half hour. So then they shoot more off, and then if it was some mistake or whatever else, the same people will shoot more off for other people. Listen, it's gonna get stupid crazy if that happens. All right, because as far as they're concerned, I think one of the countries they have like a dead man switch. It might have been the same place where Agent Orange going tomorrow or today. Yeah, might be that same place. Meaning, if something fired at them, they let everything go. That's a dead man switch. They fire everything. They throw the kitchen sink at you and all. All right. So, hey, listen, it's gonna be interesting to see how this thing plays out. All right. So that's it for our current events. My topic is probably be a short one tonight. We'll see how it goes. But we're gonna jump into Christ-like life living and versus Christianity. Are they the same? And before I start, is there any question before I get started? If so, open up your mic and ask the question. Okay. Other than that, we'll continue on with our topic for the night. Now, I want to bring us to the point to understand what we're talking about. Now, Christians should have gotten their name to be Christ-like. That's what we normally say. It's Christ. People are Christ-like. And even though the Christianity started out sort of in a derogatory term, it has been harnessed to be those who live a Christly life. And so this is why people are called Christians, because they live a Christly life. But are the Christians really living a Christly life? Number one, what is a Christly life? What is a Christly life? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the life what Christ would have lived. Now, Christ didn't drop out of the sky into a place where no rules and regulations was going on. No. Christ was born by a father and a mother. He came out of Nazareth, and where he grew up in the Judaism religion. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, because that is where we would first understand what his customs and life was like. Okay. And if you have any discrepancies, or you have any let's see, if you disagreement, then bring it out. Send me a WhatsApp. Send me an email, isupkbahamas@gmail, okay.com. Send me an email, and we could further talk about that. Now, let's see. Let's go one by one, and let's agree on this. A man is what he do, what he does, what he is. Agree with me? Think about it. Is a man what he do? Is a man what he does? Is a man what he is? Or is a man what he think? Think about it. Is a man what he think? Or is a man what he do? Is a man what he display? You see, what is a man? How do you clarify what this man is? How do you tell what this man is all about? Is it not by what he do? Or you might say it might be what he say. So, okay, you say a life, okay, so you say the Christianity should be the life that imitates Christ's life. Good. That's a good thing. All right. Okay, so we're going to talk about if you're imitating Christ's life. Now, but what I want to know is, how would you identify an individual? Would you say that an individual is okay, someone say, well, you don't know my heart. But is the individual known by their heart or by their actions? You know somebody is a thief because they stole. And until they stole, they're not a thief. They can have in their mind as much as they want to steal something, but they're not a thief until they steal something. And so you couldn't say the person is anything, or let's just say you could say the person follows the follows the things that Christ followed. But if the person is not following them things that Christ followed, could you say that the person is following in their heart? That's the question. Can a person follow Christ in their heart and not follow the things that he did? I don't know. Think about that a second. Could a person follow Christ in their heart and not do the things he did? And I was going to start with a different scripture, but I'm going to start with that, bring that up later. But what I do want to start out with, and the good thing about it is, I don't even need to start out with a scripture per se, because we know that we're going to go to the scriptures if need be. But I want to start out right. I'm going to start out right here. Okay. First thing. Was Christ a law keeper? Let's go through them. Let's start out here. Did Christ observe the Sabbath on the Sabbath? Okay. Okay, yes, you need to show by your actions. You need to show by your actions. And yes, he was kept the law. Now, we're supposed to be doing a comparison here. So let's do a little comparison. The Sabbath day is Saturday. And the scriptures say, Genesis 2 and 3, Exodus 28 through 11, Leviticus 23 and 3 says that, Sabbath is Friday evening to Saturday. The evening and the morning was the day. So that means the evening and the morning, it goes into the next evening. That's the day. So the Sabbath would start on the Friday evening and go into the Saturday evening. So the question is, do the Christians observe the Sabbath the way Christ did? Now, okay, you may say, but I have an argument. You're going to say the apostles celebrated, they met on the first day of the week. Okay? And think about that. Let's see if I can find that. It's a lot here. They met on the first day of the week. If I could find it quickly, I'll use it. If not, I'll just continue paraphrasing. Okay. Give me a strange result here. Okay, so, all right. Now, I didn't find it, but you could find it. They met on the first day of the week. That's the apostles, right? Now, I want to talk a few seconds about that. If God say, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy, right? Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Now, the apostles met on the first day of the week. Do you correlate that to mean the Sabbath was changed to the first day of the week? You think about that. Even if they had a meeting, because right now, if I ask you as a Christian, which day is holy to you, you tell me every day holy to you. You meet every day. So if those days were holy to them on every day, why does it appear as though the Sabbath has been moved from the seventh day to the first day? Think about that. I mean, that's why I said you don't need a scripture right now for that. You know that right now, the majority of Christianity observes the first day of the week as the Sabbath. When the Lord himself say, observe the Sabbath and keep it holy. This Sabbath come from all the way from the beginning, Genesis, when the Lord finishes his work and he rested on the seventh day. So, okay, that's one. That's one. So that's one thing. What Christ would have been observing, because he came in a time when Judaism was the religion of the day. In so much that those that didn't follow were ostracized somehow. If you didn't follow Judaism, if you didn't do the things that you were supposed to do, there was a law for you. And that law was like how when the police pull up on the scene, you say the law reached, that was that law. Okay? That was those who came to make sure your punishment was delivered if you didn't follow. That was that law. Okay, so that's the first one. So we're gonna go down these things and just talk, lightly on them. And that's just to say. So that's one thing the Christians are not doing the way Christ did. Let's go. Let's look at another one of the. Okay, so let's talk about Passover. The Passover. What about that? Are the Christians celebrating the Passover? Da, 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 da. We can stop right there. Guess what? Around the Passover, what is celebrated? Oh, Salakia. Let me see. I need to go back in my mind. Let's go back to the Sabbath day. And we come back to the Passover. The Sabbath day. Do you know why they now have changed the celebration, the Sabbath to the Sunday? Do you know that the Sunday, times before, the Babylonians used to celebrate the sun god, right? And Sunday is named after that sun god, right? And Sunday was worshipped by everybody to that sun god, right? And so now, what we are doing, we have shifted the worship to the Most High on Sunday, where everybody is just worshiping the sun god. And so now everybody have come on. Christianity has been forced us into worshiping on the Sunday. So now you've removed from worshiping the day what the Most High say to worship. And now we move to this day where the sun was always being worshipped. So who are you actually worshiping? Who are you actually worshiping? Okay. All right. So that's the thing. Now, the other thing is, I think Christians also say that Christ was resurrected on a Sunday, right? Let's talk about that in a second. Let's talk about that. All right. Let's start from when Christ was. Remember now, Christ was crucified, and they said that they wanted to take him off of the cross because the Sabbath was coming. Remember that? So that means he was on the cross on Friday before the Sabbath day started. So they had to take him down before the Sabbath started. Correct? You know that. Since the question come, I hope you aware that. We could go back and check that out if need be. Okay, so they said we have to take him down before the Sabbath start. So that means he was on the cross and taken down before the Sabbath start. Which day that was? The Sabbath was starting Friday evening. So he would have been on the cross on this, let's say it was a Friday day. And they had to take him. So he was on the cross. The time they came to them and say, we have to take him down because the Sabbath is starting. That would have been the Friday before the sun went down. So let's count it. How long was he how long? 3 days? Okay. So you have Friday, from Friday to Saturday evening is 1 day, right? From Saturday evening to Sunday evening is the next day. From Sunday evening to Monday evening is the next day. That's the 3 days, right? So we're saying that they say that Christ died and he resurrected in the morning. But what happens is when you look at it, the time really doesn't add up for the morning time. It gives you a little bit of speculation of which day. And so they toy with the days. They toy with the days. But again, the Christians, even though there's a little discrepancy about the time that Christ was resurrected from the dead, would that be enough to change where God said, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy? That's the other thing, That should trump, God said, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Because the days when Christ was in the grave and was resurrected, it was a little bit of discrepancy around it according to the scholars. And so it's like they added on a day, take off a day, but they just wanted the day to fall on the day they wanted it to fall on. Okay, that's what happened. They just wanted it to fall on the day they wanted it to fall on. But if you look at it, it gives you some question whether the day was the right day. Because like I say, if it's the Friday to Saturday, if it's a Friday evening, right? Because remember, you go from Friday evening to Saturday, that's 1 day. From Saturday evening to Sunday evening is the second day. And then we go so that'd be the second day. So if Christ was in the earth for 3 days, it could just be on the Sunday. And that's the discrepancy between the whole thing. It's a lot here for me. Okay, so the thing is, what time? Like I say, if you add up that time, it wouldn't work out. If you add up Friday evening, Saturday evening, Saturday evening, Sunday evening, Sunday evening, Monday evening, the 3 days wouldn't add up, So that's why, and if you put them things together, you may remember the fact that they say, listen, the Sabbath come and let's take him down. That means it was a certain time. All right. If you use that time, then you can run over into Monday and not Sunday. Simple. All right. Now, and again, like I said, the most interesting thing is the fact that God has already put in place, remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. So Christ should not override that. And he didn't. All right. Okay, so we're talking about, that's back to the Sabbath. All right. Now, the next thing is the Passover. Now, you know what the Passover is. And okay, we ain't gonna go back to the scripture. Yes, I'm paraphrasing. If you have to, we could go back. You could find the scripture. The Passover was when, after Moses was trying to deliver the children of Israel out of Egypt, and the Lord brought the last plague, which was the killing of the firstborn of everything. And that was the time, that is the celebration when the Lord brought the Israelites out by a heavy hand by Moses. And so we were told to observe this Passover observe this Passover for generations. Continue to observe this Passover. But are we doing that? No. Guess why? Because the Passover always ends up right around the time of Easter. Right? Easter, which was another god which was being worshipped prior to even this whole Passover thing, because it's a Babylonian custom. Esther, when you go back and find out that's who they consider to be the devil's wife in the myths, in the mythologies, right? So you have this woman being worshipped, which they say in their old customs was the devil's wife, Easter, Astartes, and so that's why they have that she was the god of fertility. So now, right around the Passover time, this is why you have, and what you know why it's so significant with a bunny, because bunnies they have a lot of babies, right? And so this god was a god of fertility, which they worship in Babylon. And so now you have this god of fertility being worshipped on the time where the Most High say you're supposed to be observing the Passover, and it always comes around the same time. So instead of you having a Passover celebration, you're having an Easter celebration. You're actually worshiping the God of Easter. No, you didn't know that. But you didn't know that. But the point is, through your ignorance, then that's two. So Christ would have been having the Passover. You know he celebrated the Passover. He did, right? You know that. He did. He celebrated the Passover. Did he or did he not? He did not do Easter. So that's two. Okay? You're going through the Sabbath day. You're going through the Passover. All right. Now, what is another one? The Feast of Unleavened Bread. Okay? You know the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Did he do it? He did it, eh? Remember the Feast of Unleavened Bread is the one because they had to eat the bread without leaven in it. And so that became a Feast of Unleavened Bread after that. So as he celebrated the Passover, he celebrated the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The Passover is the Sabbath before, and then the Feast of Unleavened Bread would be the next day. Because remember what happened was, as they were forced out, they had to make the bread without putting any leaven in it. So they couldn't wait for it to rise. So that thing was, listen, we ain't letting this bread rise, so we ain't putting no leaven in it. So now that's celebrated as a feast after that. And that's what Christ celebrated. Does the Christian church celebrate the Feast of Unleavened Bread? Tell me that. Does the Christian church celebrate the Feast of Unleavened Bread? See, these are the things, if your actions make you who you are, then you have to be them. You have to be the thing. You have to do the thing that makes the thing be you. Because if you ain't doing the thing, then you can't be the thing. If you're not doing the actions which you're supposed to be following, then you can't be called this thing which you're trying to say you are. No, they do not. You cannot be the thing which you call yourself if you're not doing the things what that thing say you should be doing. Okay? I will be following. So, Christianity, Christ did some things. You say you Christ-like. But guess what? Some people that say, they might say I may be too harsh when I say they lie. Some may say they're ignorant. But guess what? I don't know. But all I know is this. I believe you know and you're not doing it. That's what I believe. I believe you know that Christ didn't do those things, but you doing them. But so how are you supposed to be Christ-like or following Christ if you ain't doing it? And listen, there's three things we let's talk about so far. All right? Okay, so now Um, the Feast of First Fruit. That's another Jewish. That's another Jewish celebration. Does the church know about it? You ever hear? Not you, mind you. I've heard at some point that they celebrated that they had someone had some fruits come into the church at one point. So I'm going to tell you, I've heard that celebrated in a church before. I've heard that. Okay, so I can say that's one we can leave out there because I've seen it. I've heard it or seen it celebrated in the church. All right, so we're gonna say that's one. So we go on. That's 3 and 1. Okay. Why I said that because I don't know if you remember, because at some point, and I'm not sure if the timing was right, but I knew they said, okay, well, everybody bring all of the produce and the fruits and everything what y'all would have grown. We'll put it and lay it on around the altar, and we're going to give it to people. I remember that happening, if only one time, but I did remember it happening. Okay, so now the other one is, so that's 3 and 1. Keeping score. Yeah, we're keeping score. Because it's going to determine who you are, or what they are, or who is who, according to what you do. Okay, so now, now they have a memorial blowing of the trumpet. I don't even think the church know what that is, but that's that's part of the Jewish custom. They don't know what that is. Who's blowing the trumpet on any particular day? And you know, no, that's so. I'm saying that's another one, and remember what I'm saying, because Christ came up in that custom. He came up in Judaism. He would follow, because check this out. If you were a devout Jew, you had to follow all of those customs. If you didn't, they would act against you. The Jewish sect, the Jewish people would ostracize you and say that you're not with them. If you were not circumcised on the 8th day, you were not with them. If you missed Passovers, you would not. They will call you a heathen. Okay, so that means if you didn't see these things said, then Christ was following these things, because it's understood that they must follow. And so everybody else should not just be following someone else. You need to understand what you're doing. The band may sound good, marching in one direction, but you don't follow that band. You understand what the scripture is saying. Let the band march that way, and you follow what the scripture is telling you to do. Because it'll be like the Pied Piper and everybody go down in the water. So don't follow that marching band. Okay, so another feast day, the Day of Atonement. Does the church know about that? I've never heard about it in the church. Okay, and I've been in the leadership position in the church for a long time, many years, enough years that I'm ashamed to admit. It's a lot here. So what I'm saying is, that Day of Atonement, does the church celebrate it? Remember now, these are the days that the Lord has made special impact on Israel. And the Judaism, the early Israelites celebrated all of these days. All of them, they celebrated them. They remembered them. Now, you could actually, every one of these holy days, they have been matched up against some pagan holiday. And that's what people don't realize. Every one of them has been matched up against some pagan holiday. And I should have checked to see what all the pagan holidays was matched up against them. But they all are. Okay? The few that I mentioned that I remember, I was able to tell you, they match up against those. And the other ones match up also. Now, the Day of Atonement is the day that UPK, we fast for the day. We fast for the whole day. All right? We do a total fast all day. For those who can. If you're on medication and you have to eat, then don't fast. If you're old and you can't fast, don't fast. If you're too young and you can't fast, don't fast. If you're at an age to fast, then you fast. Total fast. And 1 day total fast don't do anything to anybody. 1 day total fast, no water, no food. Come on, that don't do anything to anybody. All it does is it make you understand that if you could deprive your body of food, you could deprive your body of anything. Okay? If you could deprive your body of food, you could deprive your body of anything. That thing would cause your body to live or not live. You could deprive your body of that. It teaches you in your own mind. If you could deprive your body of food, then you could have control over your body in other areas. And that's what you should be learning from the Day of the Atonement. But again, does the church celebrate the Day of Atonement? Do they treat it as a high holy day? No. Do they even know it? Did they even check for it? Is it on the calendar? No. Some other pagan holiday is on the calendar around that, and they celebrate that. I think we up to 4 and 1 now. That sounds like 6 and 5 and 1, which is up to 6. And there's also the Feast of Tabernacles. Over time, these things, they didn't fade out, they were replaced. You may say you haven't heard about them because they were faded out. But actually, they were deliberately replaced during a time when paganism and Christianity merged into one another. So, it wasn't no mistake. This was a deliberate action that things would change, that the days, the celebrations, the holy days would change into some pagan worship day. And because of our ignorance, because of your lack of wanting to follow the truth, you just settle with it. We just say, okay, I'm on Bunny's lay egg. Let's have an Easter egg hunt. That's what you do, right? Not thinking that you actually worshiping the God of Easter. Not thinking about it. And if you are what you do, and if you're doing the wrong thing, then you are the wrong person. That's what I say. So that's 5 and 1, makes 6. The Feast of Dedication, also Hanukkah. Okay. Does the church ever celebrate that? Does the church ever celebrate Hanukkah? We talking about now. We saying that's this now 7 and 1. One thing I see the church seem to be that I've seen in the church before, but all the others I've not seen. And mind you, I'm not saying I'm the authority on everybody's churches, but tell me something. You might very well be the authority on the church where you were or where you are. And if you're that authority, then you need to revisit what you're doing. Are you doing the things like Christ? Are you living a Christ-like life? Or are you living another way? Because if you're not living a Christ-like life, then you are living another way and you're not a Christian. Bang! You never thought about that, but let it blow your mind. You're not. You're something else. But the way you use Christian, you're not that. Okay? You're not that. You're something else. Now what the something else is, I don't know, but you're not that. You're not that thing what you say is a Christian. Let's follow what is Christ like. Because Christ did something specifically. And if your actions determine who you are, then you're not that thing. You're some other thing. You're not that Christian because Christians would follow this path. They would follow this example. They would do this thing, but guess what? You're not doing any of that. You're not doing any of it. And if you're doing one out of the 7, one of the 8, right? And then there's also Purim, which again, you ever heard of Purim? You ever heard of it? It's probably not, right? That's probably the first time you hear the word Purim. And so, if you've not even heard it, how could you treat it as a high holy day? Okay? Well, you don't even know what it's about, right? So, oh man, and you call yourself a Christian. You see, that's the issue. If you are what you do, and you're not doing what Christ did, then you're not follower of Christ. No, you're following some other way. You're not following Christ. All right. Okay, we're almost there. You're almost there. Okay, touch it on one other thing, because this comes up in and I'm gonna paraphrase it again, even though I may have the scripture. I'm gonna paraphrase it. Another thing where, and we in ICPK, we say that if the law say it's a sin, then it's a sin. If the law does not say it's a sin, that's not a sin. That's quite simple. Okay. Now I just want to talk a little bit about Christ, his first miracle, where he turned water into alcohol. I can say it like that so you can understand what I'm saying. He turned water into alcohol. Okay. Now the thing is, we have some people who are saying, if that's the only days you should be celebrating, yes, that should be the only days you should be celebrating. That's why I'm saying this now. Those days where the Lord give us to celebrate, that should be the only days you should be celebrating. So what does that eliminate? I'm not sure which one of these days actually lines up with the Christmas, but one of these days would line up with the Christmas celebration. I probably could research that. You're not supposed to be celebrating Christmas, Easter, Valentine's Day, birthday, Mother's Day, Father's Day. You're not supposed to be celebrating those days. You know, I understand that anniversary is okay to celebrate, but all those days, they're not supposed to be celebrated. You're supposed to be celebrating the days that the Most High gave us. And so the organization is supposed to be set around these days. The organization should be the ones who celebrate these days, and you come into understanding to celebrate those days. As an individual, you put yourself in an organization that's supposed to teach you the right thing. In the Christian church, it's supposed to be teaching you the right thing, but they're teaching you the wrong thing because they've been infused, they've been infiltrated, they've been amalgamated with paganism. And so right now, you really can't tell exactly what's going on until you remove yourself. And trust me, when you remove yourself, you start to see clearer. But the song said, I can see clearly now the rain is gone. You could see clearer now that Christianity is raining over your blood or your mind. You could see it clearer. But prior to that, you couldn't even see it. So yes, you're supposed to only be celebrating those days that the Lord said to celebrate, and nothing else. Why? Because he said it. He tell you what to celebrate. You shouldn't be celebrating nothing else. If you want to be Christ-like, that's what Christ did. He celebrated what his father told him to celebrate. Nothing else. He never had a birthday party. All right? He never had a birthday party. Think about it. You can't find any of those things he celebrated to strengthen your argument. Okay, so as we wind down, so Christ turned water into alcohol. I say it like that so you can't water it down, because people try to water it down. They try to water down the alcohol into juice. Okay, his first miracle was he turned water into alcohol. Why do I say alcohol? And how can I prove it? I'm going to paraphrase, and you know the scriptures very well. And if you don't, you could go to the scriptures and read it for yourself. It'll be the John chapter 2, starting from the first verse all the way to the 11. I'll just paraphrase it for time's sake. Okay, so Christ came to the wedding and they had run out of wine. So Christ's mother came to him and said, we ran out of wine. Make some wine. He said, Woman, what you doing with me? My time ain't come for me to do nothing yet. Anyway, but for her sake, she tell him, whatever he tell you, do it. And so he tell her, okay, anyway, get some bottles. And they got the bottles and they filled it with water, and then the thing turned into wine, into alcohol. All right? Why? What is the difference between grape juice and wine. You know what the difference is between grape juice and wine? The fermentation process changes the grape juice. It's when it's fermented, if you run an analysis on it, it'll tell you the percentage of alcohol was converted from the juice in that to make it a wine. That is what causes it to be wine. The fermentation process produces alcohol in the grape juice, which changes it from grape juice to wine. Now, the percentage may be different, but it is alcohol. That's what it is. And that's why wine was made to make you merry. Okay? If you sad, you drink some wine. Now, I'm not saying to be a drunkard. You fall down. No, I'm not telling you that. You need to lift up your spirit. You could do that there with the wine. All right? So he made water into alcohol. Okay? Now, I know that a lot of the Christians say, oh, you can't drink wine. Christ was a wine drinker. Do you know that? Do you know that? Okay, the first thing is, he made it. Right? Now, tell me this then. Why would they accuse him of being a wine bibber? Come on now. Why would they accuse him? What you think? Think about it. You know why they would accuse him? They would accuse him because they saw him more than once. Let me put it like that. They didn't just see him one time. Because if he just drunk wine one time, they mightn't say he was a wine bibber. You think about it. Who you call a wino? You know who you call a wino? The fella would keep drinking wine. But he was a wino, boy. Right? Now, I wouldn't say. Now, what we may call the winos is the fellas who might be falling down. Or we just know they're drinking wine, so they're winos. I know people that drink wine and they never had the falling down kind of experience. But this is the reason why they call Christ a wine bibber, is because they were used to seeing him drink wine. Let me put it like that. They were used to seeing him drink wine. So it wasn't like a one-off thing, because if it was a one-off thing, they wouldn't call him a wine bibber. All right? And so, where the church would try and enforce that you refrain from drinking wine, Christ did it. And it was just all right with him. Okay, so I'm saying now, are you following the life of Christ? Are you living some other way? I put it to you, Christians. You live in another way. What you miss was the scripture would say, if another Christ or another doctrine come, you missed that. Because what happened is you didn't catch it in time to see when this new Christ came. When the new Christ came, he was into the new Christ. That's what happened to you. The new Christ came and you didn't realize that the old Christ was already past. And I mean that to say, the scripture say, and I'm paraphrasing again, so lack you for that. All right? I'm paraphrasing. It says that if anybody bring a new gospel, a new Christ, they should shun them. But what I'm saying to you is, you missed it. You missed that. Because when you got into understanding, you was in the new Christ. That you didn't have the opportunity to understand the old Christ. So now anything which you see now in your mind seems to be the new Christ, and you are shunning, but you don't understand what the original Christ did. That's it. You don't understand what the original Christ did. And so the original Christ did all of these things. And so you didn't understand. And now you're speaking boldly against the children of God because they're drinking some alcohol. You know what you want? You want a liar and a closet drinker. That's what you want. You don't want the truth. And you don't want to live the truth. You want to live a lie. That's what I say. If you want to stop living a lie, find yourself an ISUPK. You find yourself an ISUPK and you'll find the truth. Some of it is not easy, but it is the truth. And if you hold fast, you will see, you will reap if you faint not. So don't faint. Come to ISUPK, grow up, get a better understanding of the scriptures, get a better understanding of your life. Because right now, people don't know, they don't understand their own life. They don't understand the power that's in them and their importance to the Most High. They don't understand that. They don't. Okay? And with that, I'll bring this to a close. I'll clip it right there. Okay, so this is the security announcement. We at ISUPK started out at 1 West 125th Street under commanding General Yahana. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limit for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves off the world. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to the brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After the 6 months period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry, ties, which is a commandment. You can find this in Numbers 18:21, Malachi 3:8-10. Means tenth in the Hebrew and is pronounced ma'ashira. 10% of every penny that the Lord gives you, give to the Treasury Department or teacher. Priest fund. Free will offering for priests is not mandatory. Whatever amount you'd like to give, you can give. Holy conversation, we still in the period of first fruit. Remind Akim and Akwadium. If you want to get any further information, go to isupk.com, isupk.org for events and material. If your brother wants to be a troop in the school, he should start wearing all black, which includes black boots, shirt, pants, headband, and or scarf. And with that, we just salute out. We salute any brother that may watch, which is Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai Barakatah. And we salute the sister that's in class, Yahweh Shema Alatam.
Yahweh Shema Alatam by Hashem Yahweh Shai.
And with that, class is made. Shalom.
Shalom.